This is lesson 6-4, slope-intercept form.
Let's go over some vocabulary definitions. Slope-intercept form refers to one of the three ways to express any linear function. Slope-intercept form is the easiest form to use when we're going to graph linear functions on a set of axes. Slope-intercept form is referred to, as you probably know, as y equals mx plus b. Y and x will always stay as is, m is your slope, and b is the y value of your y-intercept. We have some special cases when it comes to these particular lines. There are two cases where equations are absolutely impossible to get into slope-intercept form. If an equation has the look of y equals some number, the line is horizontal and the slope is 0. Your y-intercept will be the number that y is equal to. If an equation looks like x equals some number, it's a vertical line and your slope is undefined. There will be no y-intercept in this case because the line will never cross the y-axis. Let's take a look at some examples. Find the slope and the y-intercept of each equation. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do so. Here are your answers. For the first one, your slope is -2 and your y-intercept is 7. For the second one, your slope is 0 because it's a horizontal line and your y-intercept is -9. For the third one, your slope is undefined and there is no y-intercept. Here's another example. Write an equation with a line with the given slope and the y-intercept. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do so. Here's your answer. The slope is -5, so that goes in front of the x. The b is -6, that goes at the end. So y equals -5x minus 6. Here's another example. Write an equation for the line that is graphed to the right. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do the example. So the first thing that we have to do is find out the slope and the y-intercept. If we take a look at the line, we can see it crosses the y-axis at 1. So my b is equal to 1. My slope, you could take 2 points and find the slope, or you can count the number of boxes as it goes up. If you go at the point 0, 1 and count up 2 and over 1, that is your slope, 2. So the equation for this particular line is going to be y equals 2x plus 1. Here's another example. Write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the points -1, 2, and 0, 0. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do so. So the first thing that we have to do is find our slope. I've done that by assigning 0, 0 to be P2 and -1, 2 to be P1. I find my slope to be -2. 0, 0 is the y-intercept because it's where x equals 0. Therefore, my linear function is y equals -2x plus 0, or y equals -2x.
This is the end of day 1 of this lesson. Please pause the video and wait to do day 2 until your teacher tells you to.
Here's how to graph lines using slope-intercept form, which is probably the most important thing we can do with slope-intercept form. Put the function into slope-intercept form, which means you have to isolate y, or solve for y. Then put the slope, m, in fraction form. It might already be in fraction form, so if it is, leave it alone. If it's not in fraction form, that means it's in integer form, and you can put any integer over 1. Plot the y-intercept on the graph. Use your slope to move to determine your other points. Connect the dots, Put your arrowheads on the lines, and lines should always be drawn from one edge of the graph to the other. That'll be very important when we get to the lesson on graphing two lines at one time. And make sure you always write your function on the line. Let's take a look at an example. Graph the equation y equals x minus 2. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do the example. The first thing I do is find my slope. There is an imaginary 1 in front of the x, so my slope is 1 over 1. My b is negative 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is plot my point at the y-intercept. Take a look to the right to the graph and you can see a blue dot at 0, negative 2. Now I'm going to move with my slope. I'm going to go up 1 and over 1 and plot another point. I continue to do that all the way through the graph, as you can see on the right, with my blue dots. The next thing I want to do is take a ruler or straight edge and connect my dots, like so. I always make sure I draw my lines from one edge of the graph to the other. Then I need to label my graph, y equals x minus 2, right next to the line.